In 1965, a scientist using the pseudonym of Chan Thomas wrote a book called The Adam and Eve Story, which examines the evidence of a series of cyclic catastrophes which have occurred on our planet over the last few thousand years. Yet this book would have gone largely unnoticed if it wasn't for the CIA, who obtained a copy of his book and gave it a high security classification. The CIA's copy of this book has been heavily sanitized, and this has reduced the size of the book down to 59 pages. I tried to obtain an unsanitized copy of this book with little success, and a copy sold on eBay last year for $999. The CIA declassified their copy of this book, and they released a highly sanitized copy in 2013 with very little fanfare. It's claimed, the reason why the CIA heavily edited their copy of this book is to cover up the author's geological evidence to support his theory on cyclic catastrophes which have occurred over the last few thousand years. Plus, the book also explores the idea that we are due for another cyclic catastrophe to occur within the near future. The cyclic catastrophes theory is similar to the Earth crust displacement theory put forward by the American college professor Charles Hapgood, who put forward his theory in a book published in 1958, where he believed the Earth's crust would move freely over the Earth's asthenosphere, resulting in shift of the magnetic poles. The basic notion of Earth crust displacement is that the Earth's lithosphere, which is composed of individual plates, can at times move as a whole over the asthenosphere. In this diagram, the lithosphere is located above the asthenosphere. Hapgood speculated that the accumulated polar ice mass can destabilize the Earth's rotation, causing crustal displacement but not disturbing the Earth's axial orientation. Hapgood argued that shifts, of no more than 40 degrees, occurred about every 4,000 to 5,000 years, interrupting 20,000 to 30,000 year periods of polar stability. Over the centuries, the Earth's magnetic field has magnetized rocks which have a high metal content, and scientists have been able to read the magnetic fields within rocks, and determine the position of the Earth's magnetic poles, dating back millions of years. Scientists have discovered that pole shifts like Charles Hapgood has predicted, have occurred in the past, but the process takes many millions of years. But according to Chan Thomas, he believes he has discovered evidence that a number of global inundations have occurred every 6,000 years. These inundations are caused by sudden cyclic catastrophes, where the lithosphere slides over the asthenosphere, causing a cataclysmic pole shifts to occur. This pole shift occurs over a number of days, and the rapid pole shift cause mega-earthquakes and mile-high tsunamis. Chan Thomas also believes this rapid pole shift can trigger some very severe weather conditions, resulting in the production of some really powerful storms and damaging supersonic winds, which are capable of destroying many buildings, bridges, and skyscrapers in cities around the world. The supersonic winds may be caused by the rapid disruption the world's global weather patterns, and this shift of the magnetic poles may cause the formation of record-breaking low-pressure zones to form, which would produce damaging supersonic winds. Chan Thomas believes these cyclic catastrophes have occurred a number of times in the past, and his book examines the evidence of these catastrophes, and he believes these events have occurred when the poles shift up to 90 degrees, and then flip back to their original location, and this leaves no trace within the magnetic rocks, used by scientists to determine the position of the magnetic fields over the past million years. Even the Bible warns about a possible cyclic catastrophe, which states in Luke 21:11 there will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, along with fearful sights and great signs from heaven. Also in Luke 21:25, there will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. This could mean the sudden movement of the lithosphere over the asthenosphere will cause the stars, moon, and the sun to rise and set in different parts of the sky, and the motion of the Earth's crust would cause the oceans to become turbulent and tempestuous, and creating mountainous tsunamis to form around the world. The great signs from heaven seem to indicate some type of astronomical event, and some researchers believe there is a correlation between earthquakes and the position of our moon and other planets within our solar system. The powerful earthquakes could cause widespread damage to many highways, roads, and rail links, which causes major disruption in the transportation of food and medicines to shops and supermarkets around the world, causing worldwide food shortages and famines. Another serious threat posed by a cyclic catastrophe is that many nuclear power stations around the world are located next to the sea, or next to large rivers. A cyclic catastrophe may trigger massive tsunamis which cause serious damage to the nuclear power stations, and we may see a repeat of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster which happened in 2011, where the reactors suffered meltdowns, causing the emission of hydrogen gas which caused the reactor buildings to explode. But a cyclic catastrophe may trigger more devastating nuclear disasters to occur, as the tsunamis and earthquakes may damage the cooling ponds located next to the nuclear reactors. The cooling ponds are used to store spent nuclear fuel rods, which are usually quite hot. The earthquakes may cause cracks in the ponds, causing water to leak out, and the water level could drop and expose the fuel rods. If this happens, the fuel rods could catch fire and release tons of radioactive material into the atmosphere. And this scenario could happen at nuclear power stations around the world, and the radioactive clouds could kill thousands of people. The radioactive contamination could also render tens of thousands of acres of land unusable for many decades, and the high levels of radiation could kill off livestock and make crops uneatable, causing worldwide food shortages. Some people have warned us in the past about the world is going to end, yet these prophecies never came true. Experts warned the world would end caused by the Y2K problem in 1999, and the Mayan calendar prophecy claimed the world would end in December 2012, yet the world keeps on spinning and the world hasn't come to an end. Yet the cyclic catastrophe predicted by Chan Thomas may occur as a black swan event, which is an event that takes the majority of people by complete surprise, like the 9/11 attacks in New York City in 2001, or the Japanese megathrust earthquake which occurred in March 2011. I have always had a fascination with the end of the world predictions, as in the early 1980s, I had a meeting with a number of German psychics, who worked for a secret space program in the east of London. You can see my video on the secret space program on my YouTube channel. During this meeting they informed me about the true nature of the Third Fatima secret, which was still being kept secret by the Vatican in the 1980s. The German psychics warned me about a forthcoming global inundation which will occur sometime in the future. The German psychics claimed the main purpose of this secret space program is to ensure the long-term preservation of the human race, following a major global disaster. The Vatican released a copy of a letter in the year 2000, which predicts the downfall of the Pope and the end of the Catholic Church. The Third Fatima secret was written at the beginning of the 20th century, when 3 children witnessed a vision of the Virgin Mary. Who gave the 3 children 3 prophecies? Yet some researchers believe the Third Fatima is still being kept a closely guarded secret by the Vatican, as it relates to a global inundation which could wipe out the majority of the human race. So from my point of view, we may well see a major global catastrophe within the next few decades or so. I also recall having a meeting in the early 1980s, with a member of the British aristocracy, who generally have a very low opinion of the ordinary working class people. This member of the British aristocracy informed me, they always like to plan decades in advance, and his member warned me about a forthcoming global flood, which will wipe the majority of the human race, and as this member had a very low opinion of ordinary people, this member of the British aristocracy is looking forward to the day this event happens. So some of the British aristocracy could be looking forward to the day when the unruly common people are wiped out. If this is the case, then who is going to do their cooking and cleaning for them? This information regarding the preparation of the British aristocracy for this event can be backed up by some news reports on the wealthy elite in America, who are buying remote properties in the Ozark Mountains, Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Kansas. The Ozark Mountains also houses one of the largest underground warehouses in America, which is used to store food and provisions, which would be used in the event of a national emergency. So it seems the wealthy elites around the world are buying remote properties located in mountainous regions of the world in New Zealand or Patagonia in South America. According to some rumors on the internet, the wealthy elites around the world are preparing for a global situation known as the event. This event could be a cyclic catastrophe which could wipe out hundreds of millions of people around the world. Plus there are numerous reports on the internet, where the wealthy elites are constructing their own underground bunkers in remote parts of the world. The majority of the human race could be wiped out by a cyclic catastrophe, as 3/4 of the world's megacities are located next to the sea. Presently about 40% of the world's population, or 2.4 billion people, live within 100 kilometers or 60 miles of a coastline. According to the United Nations, more than 600 million people, around 10% of the world's population, live in coastal areas that are less than 10 meters above sea level. This means a sizable portion of the world's human population are in danger of being killed by powerful tsunamis, triggered by a forthcoming cyclic catastrophe. In America, 39% of the total population live in cities located along the east and west coast of America, and these cities could be wiped out by mountainous waves and supersonic winds. One American state which could be at a high risk is Florida, which has a population of 20 million people, and is one of the most populated states in southeastern America. The state of Florida is at risk, as it's a low-lying state, where much of the land is only a few feet above sea level. According to some experts, they believe Noah's flood or the Great Deluge occurred in 2348 BCE, and Chad Thomas believes these cyclic catastrophes occur every 4,000 years, so we are long overdue for such an event to occur. Over the last 10 years, I have been plagued by recurring dreams involving desolate American cities, which are eerily silent and dark. If you visit any city in the United States, they are a hive of human activity, yet in my nightmares, I see deserted ruinous cities, devoid of any traffic noise and other sounds. I generally see myself in these nightmares as walking through deserted city streets, where the surrounding buildings lie in ruins, and are in complete darkness. The streets are jam-packed with rusting vehicles and there is no animal noises, no bird song, which gives these ruinous cities a very unsettling and unnerving environment to be in. During my nightmares, I find myself being completely alone, as I experience no sights or sounds coming from any other people. It's like everyone just got up and left the cities in a real hurry. I walked past abandoned restaurants and diners where I could see rotten food still on their plates, and half-drunken cups of coffee still on the tables. These cities may have been suddenly evacuated in a real hurry, due to a major nuclear emergency, I have stated earlier, and the US government carried out a mass evacuation by using fleets of buses and trains to transport the inhabitants to a safer location. Yet during these recurring nightmares, I never see what caused these American cities to be so hastily evacuated, so I can only speculate as to the cause of this major disaster. So it's quite possible we could witness a cyclic catastrophe which could take the human race completely by surprise, wiping out hundreds of millions of people who live within 50 miles of a coastline, and the British aristocracy and the wealthy American elite are preparing for this black swan event to occur, possibly within the next decade. The only advice I can offer you is to hope for the best, yet plan for the worst.